Welcome to this edition of Miles Ahead, and this time we're looking at the Porsche Taycan 4S. Now the Taycan's been around a few years. It was of course Porsche's first foray into the EV market, and in 2022 it has become, or rather in 2021 it became Porsche's second biggest seller in the UK, forcing the Cayenne down into third and behind the Macan. And then Macan, they've just launched the GTS, which will be the final petrol version of that before that becomes fully EV in I think 2024-25. So this is very much a sign of the future for Porsche. So this model, the 4S, it is four-wheel drive. There is the entry-level Taycan, just called Taycan, which is rear-wheel drive only. Then you've got the Taycan Turbo. Then you've got the Taycan Turbo S. I've got a sneaky suspicion this might be the sweet spot on it, because it's not savagely fast, but it's fast enough. 0 to 60 ticked off in 3.8 seconds, and when using the launch control you get 571 horsepower, so there's more than enough to be cracking on with there, and it's dual motor, so front and back are powered. Starting price for the 4S is £84,030. This being a Porsche, however, the options list does start to get a bit expensive, and model tested here comes in at £101,000. So I'll point out some of the options that I think you describe as must-haves as we go round. The first one to note as we look here is the gentian blue metallic paint at £774. And while we're here as well, we'll just have a look at the front storage space, because you get a rather handy 84 litres in here if I can get it open. So yeah, there's plenty of space in here. You'd get a weekend bag in there, which is useful. So the rear boot, we'll have a look at that in a minute, is 480 litres as well. So there's plenty of storage space, which is handy, because the cabin perhaps a little bit cramped in that respect. As we come around the sides, this is on the upgraded 20-inch Taycan Turbo Aero wheels. They're £1,524. You get 19-inch wheels as standard, and one of the charging ports is here. It did open a second ago, so we've only got the car for a day, so I've not the charging port's in there. You can open it. We did manage it a second ago, but anyway, as we come around the side, another option to note, you get this lovely fixed panoramic roof on top there. That comes in at £1,137, and we'll have a look in the interior in a moment, but just while we're here, we'll just have a look at the rear space in here. So I'm 6'2", and the driver's seat is in my position. There's a little bit of legroom there. As you can see, these pillars are massive, so but there is headroom in here. You'd be comfortable enough back here for a while. You've got the armrest. This is fitted with the 4+1 seating option as well, which is I think about £400. So you can use a middle seat, although getting in here is a bit of and my head is touching the fixed panoramic roof there. So yeah, you wouldn't want to be a tall person sitting in the middle there for too long. So it's not that spacious in the back, but you do get ISOFIX and all that, so you could use it for family use as well. As you come around the side, obviously you get 20-inch wheels at the back as well. Obviously no exhausts because it is an EV, but I really like what they've done with the back here. You get the light bar across there. I think it's a really nice modern finish, and I think this design is standing the test of time as well. Quite a good feature for opening the boot. Just press that button there, and yeah, as I mentioned, you get 480 litres there. Although if you're going to be carrying the charging cables around with you, that is a fairly chunky bag. So yeah, it depends what your charging options are going to be for a weekend away. But anyway, that is electrically closes there as well. So yeah, all in, I do like the design of the Taycan. I have done since it first came out. I think it looks typically Porsche, which is exactly what you'd want from it. But we'll have a look at the inside and then we'll take it out for a drive. And here's the view from the driver's seat of the Porsche Taycan 4S. I've got to say, I think it's really nicely appointed in here. As soon as you jump in, you can really feel the quality of the materials used in here and the quality of the driving experience as well, which we'll get onto in a moment. As you can see the back here, there's the ISOFIX points. Yeah, as we just saw, it's comfortable enough back there, if perhaps a little bit cramped. I couldn't find any USB-C charges back there, but if we come into the centre console here, there are just a couple of USB-C chargers and a 12-volt battery in there, so there's a bit of storage there. Obviously a couple of cup holders as well, somewhere to put the key. So you get the curved dash across here. I really like this because you've got touchscreen options over here. If you want to change things like the ride setting and that sort of thing, it changes between the different options down there, which is good, and you can mess around with the traction control and the ride height and all that sort of stuff there as well. So as you can see, we've got 83% charge, we've got 221 miles of range. It always starts in normal, this car, but if we come down to the drive mode select here, so you can cycle between sport and Sport Plus up there, and there's an individual too as well, so it's pretty easy to do that. And there's a range option as well, I guess, if you're doing longer journeys and that sort of thing. All touchscreen up here, and I really like the layout down here. I think they've done a really good job with this. I was worried that the two touchscreen setup might be a bit intrusive, but I mean, it's all haptic feedback on there for doing everything. It's very easy to use. As you come across the car, you can select your drive modes up here as well, and if we go into comfort, you can select the different bits for your seats. So you get the heating balance. So a day like this, as you can see, it's 30 degrees, melting a little bit. Turn that down, and that just helps cool your seats down as well, which is very useful. Now, understand there's an optional extra that you can have. So there's a touchscreen for your passenger as well. I must admit, I didn't dive into the options menu to have a look at that. But the options to note in here, really, so this black and crayon two-tone leather interior, I think really suits the profile of this car. That comes in at 2,874. Panoramic roof, as mentioned, 1,137, but it does go all the way back there, and I would suggest that's probably an option worth considering. Another thing that you get in here, the park assist, so the drive mode selectors under here. So if I stick that into reverse, you get the full surround sound camera on there, which is useful for that sort of thing, because it's quite a long car, this. So it's 4.96 metres in length and 2.14 metres wide, so not small. Also weighs 2,220 kilograms before anyone's got in it, but we'll come to that in a bit more detail on the drive along. Yeah, as I mentioned, there's the 4+1 seats in the back. Yeah, you'd want to win the game of shotgun to make sure you're not sitting in that middle seat. So the front seats they're upgraded to the comfort seats, so they're 14-way adjustable. That's £1,170. As standard, you get comfort seats, which are 8-way adjustable. So yeah, something to think about. And you get the Bose surround sound system in here as well. And you can see the speakers down there. That comes in at £956. But all in all, yeah, it's a really, really nice place to be. Yeah, very easy to use, very intuitive. Controls on the steering wheel just make sense. You've got your cruise control and all that sort of stuff down here. Just, yeah, we've only got the car for the day, jumped in, got off straight away. Very easy car to get to grips with, and it's just a nice place to be. I think this cabin, very relaxing, very quiet, as you'd expect from an EV. But this is a Porsche, so there's only one place it can really be judged, and that is out on the road. So what's the Porsche Taycan 4S like out on the road? Well, I'd normally start with that engine noise, but there isn't one. But you get a bit of electrical wheeze in the background, nothing too intrusive, and off you go. So one important optional extra that affects the driving experience, this car is fitted with the Performance Battery Plus. That comes in at £4,000. You get 93 kilowatt-hour battery versus 79 as standard. Now what that unlocks is the extra performance and a bit more range. So really, to get the performance advantage of having the 4S, you also need to have the battery plus. So your 83 grand becomes 84 grand before you've done anything else. But you do get a bit more range and that sort of thing with it as well. The other electrical optional extra to note is this is fitted with the 22 kilowatt onboard charger. You get 11 as standard. As far as I can tell, that just affects your overnight charging. Means that if you're charging at home, you can charge a little bit quicker. But if you're charging overnight, you're charging overnight. So yeah, not sure what the value of that is. But driving experience, crucially, this is a lovely, lovely car to drive, I must say. I mean, my biggest complaint about most EVs is the steering, and it's really nice and fluid, and it's really well weighted in this. It's not, you know, feedback central or anything like that, but it's just really nice to place along a country road, which we're on at the moment. Red hot day, and you just don't feel shortchanged in this environment. It doesn't feel like a blunt instrument, just 0 to 60, that's all we're looking for type thing. It does feel like there's something here for the drivers. It's got adaptive air suspension standard, and that provides a serene ride quality to this car. I mean, it's not far off on that sort of luxury limo levels. I mean, the ride quality is astonishingly good. And it's also not fitted with active anti-roll bar technology, so when you're going through corners, you do just get a bit of body roll, and it just nice and naturally flows along a road, and it's really nice to place. And yeah, on these country roads, you can feel what's going on underneath you through the chassis, which is quite nice as well. So yeah, they've nailed it on that front. This is definitely the best EV to drive if that's what you're looking for with those sorts of things. So the Performance Battery Plus unlocks the launch mode and that sort of thing. So you're going along, I think you get 440 horsepower as standard. You put it into Sport Plus, set it up in launch control, you get 571. Launch control, left foot on the brake, right foot on the accelerator, it beeps, let the brake go, and you will go from standstill to 60 in just 3.8 seconds. So it is not slow, and it also picks up really well at motorway speeds. Another complaint about some EVs is they're really good sort of between 0 and 40, 0 and 60, but then they tend to run out of puff a little bit. Not a bit of it with this. This is, you know, hugely impressive, whichever setting you want to put it up against. It does have 2 gears as well, so if you're in normal modes, which it starts up in, it runs in 2nd gear, so the engine spins a little bit, or the power spins a little bit slower. But in Sport and Sport Plus, it spins a bit faster, so it unlocks a bit more power. And then when you're in those modes, when you accelerate through and you get sort of motorway speeds, you can feel it change gear, which is quite a strange thing. And when you're toggling through the modes as well, you can just feel it change in the background, which is yeah, which is quite good. So yeah, I mean, all in all, I mean, it's a really involving car to drive actually for an EV, which is quite surprising. I mean, I had a sneaky suspicion that I'd be impressed with this car, and really at £101,000 you do need to be impressed with this car. But I guess the greatest compliment you could pay it is it doesn't really feel out of place at that price bracket. Obviously £101,000 is a lot of money, and there's no getting away from that, but it does feel like a £100,000 car, which is good. I really like the interior in here. It's a nice place to be. It's nice and relaxing. Like I say, the ride quality is supreme, and for just wafting along in town, nice and quiet as you expect from all EVs. You can flick around in Sport Plus and pin yourself back a little bit. You do need to let your passengers know though that you're about to do that, because otherwise things will go flying through the cabin. You just get that instant hit of torque, and away you go. It does weigh 2,220 kilograms before I've got in it, so with me in it, bit of luggage, it's already well over 2,300 kilograms. There's no hiding that weight, and you know, the air suspension, all that tricky, makes it feel light on its feet once you're up and running. But yeah, there's no getting away from the fact that this is a heavy car, and it's a wide car as well. You know, it's about the same width as the Rolls-Royce Cullinan Black Badge we tested a while back, and it's nearly 5 meters in length as well. So you know, I guess the interior could be a bit more spacious. You wouldn't want to be in the back, as we discussed, for hugely long periods of time. A couple of other bits on the optional extras list. I think there's a couple of bits that you have to pay for that I think should be included as standard. You want the folding mirrors, 200 quid. You want coloured Porsche crests on your wheels, that's 180 quid. You want ambient lighting, that's 300 quid. You want a public charging cable, that's £300. You want the drive mode switch, that's £800. So there's a lot of optional extras on there that I think you should probably get as standard, especially if you then got to add the Performance Plus battery and all that sort of thing. So really, by the time you've spec one up, you're not going to get one for any less than £90,000, I wouldn't suggest. But like I say, it doesn't feel out of place at that price bracket. I was expecting to be impressed by this car. I have been. It's a joy to drive out on a country road, and yeah, it's a car that you would want to take on a country road. A lot of EVs, you just go, oh, take the shortest way back on the motorway, cruise control at 65 to conserve range. This, you're going to go, now I want to get out and drive it. It is there to be driven, and yeah, that's the greatest trick. And yeah, just, I don't know what they've done to the steering, but it is wonderful compared to any other EV I've driven. So yeah, we've reviewed a few EVs on the channel, and I would say that this is probably the new benchmark among them in terms of what you get as a driver's car. Yeah, they've done a hugely impressive job, and I think this might be the sweet spot, as I mentioned, just because the turbo and the turbo does 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds or something absolutely mental. This is not too showy. I mean, 3.8 is still blindingly fast, but because it's that much more progressive, you can really enjoy the performance in this car, and yeah, you can really get it to work well with the road, and the brakes work really well with it, and it just, yeah, it picks up so impressively from any speed. Yeah, very impressive car. I've been waffling on, yeah, as you can probably tell. I have quite liked this car, and if you have a spare 100 grand in your skyrocket, there are worse cars to spend it on than this. Hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and please also consider subscribing. We've got loads of videos on the channel, and we have got loads more coming up. I think we've just ticked over 50 videos, so yeah, here's to the next 50. Hopefully see you soon. Thanks.